Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Greenproofing. I'm Dave Fortson, your host with Regen Network. I am excited to take us all the way into Italy today with my new friend and colleague, Davide Bassano from Save Spa Venice Airport. Davide, it's such a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you to you.
Davide, what is your story? How did you arrive here? You're in Italy, you're with airports, you've been in the sustainability field for 20 years. Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey and how you arrived today in working with 4 airports across Italy as a sustainability professional?
Thank you very much, David, for this opportunity. It's a real pleasure talking to you. I'll tell you about my story and how I ended up here. I'm talking from Venice Airport. So Venice, historical city of Venice, northeast of Italy, a city that everyone knows and had the pleasure to live there. So it's a real extraordinary occasion. But I wasn't born in Venice. I was born in a different place of Italy. Actually, my degree is an oil engineer. So I've been working in the oil industry for some time. And then I moved to consultancy and certification, moving through the countries and also abroad in Norway, in Germany. And then because Venice Airport was a client that we had in our portfolio, I have received an offer and then moved to Venice Airport. We started working not on sustainability, but on environmental matters, like all airports do. Because environmentally, it's probably the major issue that an airport has toward the community, toward the local administration, toward the territory. So what we have called for the years past environmental impact, environmental evaluation, environmental assessment has become the sustainability. So compare different field, different industry, different compound, economical or social economical compound. Still, sustainability for an airport is covered by environmental things and projects and activities. So I have maintained my skill working on sustainability coming from the environmental, and now I'm trying to develop sustainability in Venice Airport. That's it. Like David said, Venice is the biggest airport, but actually the group managed 4 different airports in northeast of Italy. The other 3 are minor or small airport, low-cost airport, charter airports, and so everything is managed from here, from Venice.
Amazing. When you and I chatted earlier, I was thinking about, as a fellow sustainability professional and somebody who has traveled quite a bit, I don't think people have an understanding about how sustainability and airports go together. Airports need to be geolocated in special spots to avoid impacts on humans, to avoid impacts on natural spaces, to also be strategically located in proximity to cities. The impact that an airport has on the environment tends to be significant, right? And so as a professional, can you give us a better understanding of some of the unique complexities when it comes to locating an airport? And then once your airport is there, what are some of the issues that a sustainability professional needs to be addressing day in and day out to reduce the impact that airport is having on the environment, and where you see opportunities for airports to be better neighbors to wildlife or to ecological systems and lowering their impact? So can you just paint us a picture of an airport sustainability professional? What are the things that you're dealing with that a lot of us don't have insight into?
Okay, airports are a big infrastructure. They welcome millions of passengers per year. They connect people in every corner of the world. Here in Venice, we have visitors and passengers from all over the world. Having an airport on the territory is a huge opportunity. It's an extraordinary opportunity to connecting people, to connecting different culture, to dramatically cutting the space and time. On the other side, as you properly said, David, the impact on the territory is significant. So honestly speaking, especially in Europe, airport has developed during the years. Some of them like Venice, for example, was built in the beginning of the 50s when we have dozens of flights per day. Now we have almost 500 flights per day. Increasing infrastructure has affected the territory surrounding the airport. The main issue that we have dealt with are, of course, noise, of course, air quality, also accessibility to the airport, because the villages, the cities around the airport are hardly affected by the viability and accessibility to the airport, and also land and territory. So that has made during the years a naturally problem of consensus for the territory. But on the other side, having an airport on the territory, it's a big also economical and social opportunity. So this is this dual situation, dual lay of perspective that well represent the pros and cons of being an airport on the territory. In Italy, especially in Italy, is a small country, very much populated. We are almost 60 million of people. Every airport is located very close to the cities. Some of them are small, some of them are big, and so the neighborhood that are the city, the citizen blocks, and the habitant of small or big villages or cities is not always easy. And the airport, they understand perfectly this issue. So we are working to better integrate our strategy developments to not affect, or at least not too much affect, with environmental issues, the surrounding territory. It's not always easy, as I said. 5 years after, especially after the COVID period, mode of transportation, probably air traffic is increasing a lot. So the carbon footprint has increases as a consequence. So there is a lot of pressure on the airport. Every size of airport is investing and pushing a lot to decrease the environmental footprint on the territory, diminishing the use of fossil fuel, the noise impact, pushing the accessibility to the airport in a more sustainable ways, using public transportation, using full electric vehicle, compensating the territory surrounding with project and activities that can make airport less impactful towards the territory. And believe me, all airports are really dealing with this.
Davide, can you talk to me about some of the tactics that the airport is deploying right now, pretty specific, as a means of reducing the impact on the environment, the carbon footprint, energy, your approach to circularity? And then maybe after that, we'll pivot. I'd like to know what type of investments the airport is making in biodiversity, which, as locating airports are just often in ecologically sensitive areas. In part 2 of this conversation, let's dig into what the airport sees as an opportunity to not just mitigate or reduce harm, but is investing in ecological repairs. So let's talking about right now, what does harm reduction or lowering impact look like tactically?
Yes, what we are doing now, and these activities are quite common to all, or at least most of the airports, at least in Europe, but in the seminary and conference, we talk each other, even with the US or South America, Europe, South America airports, they are doing the same. So more or less we are doing the same path. It depends only on the scale of the project. So diminishing fossil fuel, so try to lower the carbon footprint means shifting the energy airport demand toward renewable sources. For us, means voltaic panel, agrivoltaic plants. So any kind in other airports, for example, Scandinavia or Northern Europe, they have a more favorable weather conditions. So they're investing a lot in windmills. Here in Southern Europe, we try to squeeze as much as possible from the lights and investing on, for example, in photovoltaic and solar panel. So In our ramp up, we expect to cover more than 50% of the energy demands in the next 10 years, installing photovoltaic system or renewable power sources, and so diminishing dramatically the use of fossil natural resources. That's the main issue. Other one is, like you said, circular economy has increased a lot in the last 3 years. We are investing a lot on two paths, different paths. One is try to sort in the most effective way the waste that we produce, and get them as the waste as an economical resource. So giving to the waste an economical value, treating them as a raw material, actually, like plastic, like paper, like glass, for example. So the effectiveness of the sorting waste is very much related to the possibility to reuse the same kind of material. So we are very investing a lot. We are even mechanized the waste process management with a vacuum plant that has cut all the handling of the waste and giving better condition to the waste operators, and getting better result in terms of sorting ratio. Another thing is to produce less waste. This is an even harder challenge we have, because actually, for example, the plastic is really safe for example, for the alimentary or for the food package, and try to find out a substitute or a different option to live and to diminishing the lowering the consume of plastic is quite hard, actually. Even from the consumer point of view, plastic for the alimentary usage as felt as a very safe and ergonomic kind of package. So there are cultural and mindset attitude to deal with, and also there are technical problems, but diminishing the amount of waste produced, especially working on the package system, is something that we are still pushing a lot, especially in an airport. All the food and beverage or the retail activities use a lot of plastic and boxes and cardboards and labels, so it's a huge amount of waste that we had to reduce.
Okay, so now biodiversity, big issue, right? Airports need a lot of land. They're often, in Venice, I'd say, is got unique issues, right? It's in and around water. There's a whole marine environment. Can you share a little bit more about the investments that your group is making to increase or support biodiversity? Tell us a little bit more about what that looks like, what the airport's responsibility is, and how it will show leadership in this particular space.
Thank you, David, because this is my favorite part of the sustainability. Is something that usually is quite under-evaluated, and what we are seeing, at least in Venice Airport, is quite extraordinary. And I tell you why. Venice Airport is located just in front of the lagoon. It's a very protected area because the kind of species, flora and fauna, that are balancing in the lagoon, they are quite unique. There are a lot of rules, even at the European level, that try to protect this area. So just because the airport was built in the 50s, when the environmental, cultural, and attitude was completely different, if we have to think an airport today, it cannot exist in a location like this, because the huge impact that we deliver to the lagoon is too much. So this is another challenge we have to deal with. Biodiversity for us means many years ago, at the beginning of 2010, with a lot of observation, getting measurement, writing reports, and recording all kinds of data about the flora and the fauna, try to evaluate how airport activity and airport operation could have affect the biodiversity. During the years, what we have seen, it's quite interesting from as an airport operator, from our point of view, is that airport is a safe area, so in a territory very much populated with a lot of traffic, especially in the lagoon, with a lot of boats and the water connection everywhere. Airport is like a rest area, a quiet area in which biodiversity can stay, can rest. And we have reached a very interesting balance between the reproduction of the species, especially the some kind of birds that will find this area for some reason not at all populated, because everything is controlled and there is very limited access to the airside area of the airports. That is the area facing to the lagoon. And that allows some species to replace themselves, to reproduce themselves, and to increase the number of the species. So this is the opposite of the paradox that always affect biodiversity and generates environmental issues. What we are seeing here in Venice is exactly the opposite. And actually, there are no conflict between for example, the bird strike rate is always the same. On the other side, what we are recording is the increasing number of species, some of them quite unique and protected.
Can you help me understand the role of the airport in the biodiversity context? It sounds like you're doing measurement, getting baselines, understanding year over year how the species are being impacted due to the unique nature of an airport as almost like a safe haven from boat traffic and other human interference. You're starting to see some species reproduce and populate. Does the airport have any active role in facilitating the continued health of that, or is it more hands-off?
The phenomena that we are seeing and we are watching is we didn't realize that we have this positive consequence, this positive implication in terms of balancing between the nature, the biodiversity, and the airport operation. We have decided to use some of the land around the airport to develop areas when all the flora and the fauna typically of this area could have some rest, they could reproduce themselves, they could live balancing in them. All this area, we can call it like a kind of natural oasis or
reserve.
Yes, reserved. It's our intention in the project of the next 5 years, it won't be any possibility to visit this area. They will be completely compounded and bordered, just to make less interference as possible and leave the flora and the fauna to balance themselves and to have some rest. In a surrounding area, of course, very much populated and affected by all the activities that human nature used to do in a very populated cities or villages or suburban areas. We have realized that there are this positive evolution of the biodiversity and coexistence with the airport activity. We have decided to invest, dedicating part of the area. Actually, it's quite large because this area I'm talking about, it's more or less the same extension of the airport itself, to get to the flora and the fauna, to have an oasis, an area reserved just for them, not for visitors, so walking path for cyclopaths, and to avoid any kind of interference with human activity.
Amazing. Well, Davide, as we close up here, you've been in the business for a long time. It's been 20 plus years as a sustainability professional, and you're working at the hub of human culture, right? At the airport, where everyone is coming and going from all over the world. Can you share a little bit from your seat today about what is bringing you hope right now in your position for sustainability professionals and our ability to build a better world? What is exciting you? What is keeping you up in the morning?
The challenges in front of us, for example, climate change, it's a huge and planetary issue that all the communities, including airports, has to solve and to think seriously. Biodiversity, for example, the lessons I've learned is that fix a very high goal, high target to have a very high result. So what makes my job and sustainability in general quite fascinating is that there is no only one solution. I'm talking for the airport or for every industry compound or every social or economical activity. You have to look honestly and frankly in what kind of impact you generate, what kind of positive effect you generate, and work on them, and possibly try to get a good balance between them. Another point is that we need to invest not only increasing airport activities, but also looking outside the airport, watching around us, watching the territory, and try to understand what is good for them.
Great. Well, Davide Bassano from Save Spa Venice Airport, thank you so much for joining us today and staying up a little late over in Venice. Really love your city, and I've visited there a number of times. And next time I'm in town, I'm going to come by and see a tour of the airport.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much.